Everything you have been told about memory loss is wrong. It does not start in your brain. It starts in a place no neurologist has ever thought to look: your gut. And the research I am about to show you, published just weeks ago in one of the most prestigious scientific journals in the world, proves that a specific type of bacteria growing inside your intestines right now is silently destroying your ability to form new memories. Not in 10 years, not when you are 80, right now, today, while you are watching this. Before I show you the science, let me tell you about Dorothy. Dorothy is 71 years old, retired fourth-grade teacher from Minneapolis, 32 years in the classroom, the kind of teacher who remembered every single student's name, not just the year she taught them, every year after. She would see a former student in the grocery store 15 years later and say their name before they could say hers. That was Dorothy. That was who she was. When Dorothy came to see me, she was terrified, not because of pain, not because of a diagnosis, because she had started forgetting. It started small. A neighbor's name she had known for 20 years, then her granddaughter's phone number. Then she walked into the kitchen one morning and could not remember why she was there. Her daughter had already made an appointment with a neurologist. The word nobody wanted to say was already hanging in the air: Alzheimer's. Dorothy sat in my office with her hands pressed together and said, "I can feel it slipping away. I can feel myself disappearing." I looked at Dorothy and told her something that changed everything. I said, "Dorothy, I do not think this is starting in your brain. I think this is starting in your gut." She looked at me like I had lost my mind. I am Dr. Margaret Hale, 28 years in integrative medicine and clinical nutrition, and what I am about to show you is the most important discovery about memory loss and brain aging that has been published in the last 20 years. It was released in March of this year in the journal Nature, one of the top 2 scientific journals on Earth. It came from researchers at Stanford University and the Arc Institute, and it completely rewrites everything we thought we knew about why our memory fails as we age. Here is what they found. As you get older, a specific species of bacteria in your gut, called Parabacteroides goldsteinii, starts to overgrow. It multiplies. It takes over territory that used to belong to beneficial bacteria. And as it grows, it produces toxic molecules called medium-chain fatty acids. These fatty acids do something devastating. They activate immune cells that live in the lining of your intestines. These immune cells respond by releasing a powerful inflammatory molecule called interleukin-1 beta. And interleukin-1 beta does one very specific thing that destroys your memory. It attacks your vagus nerve. Now let me make sure you understand what I just said, because this is the key to everything. A single species of gut bacteria produces fatty acids that trigger immune cells, that release an inflammatory molecule that directly damages the nerve connecting your gut to your brain. One bacterium. One chain reaction. And the end result is that your brain loses its ability to form new memories. Not because your brain is broken, because the communication line to your brain has been sabotaged from below. Your vagus nerve is the longest nerve in your body. It runs from your brainstem all the way down through your chest and into your abdomen. It is the main communication highway between your gut and your brain. Every second of every day, your vagus nerve is sending signals from your intestines up to your brain, telling it what is happening in your body. One of the most critical destinations for those signals is your hippocampus. The hippocampus is the part of your brain responsible for forming new memories, for remembering where you put your keys, for recalling your granddaughter's birthday, for holding on to who you are. Think of it like a telephone line between 2 cities. Your gut is one city. Your brain is the other. The vagus nerve is the telephone cable that connects them. For your entire life, that line has been clear. Every message gets through. Every signal arrives perfectly. But now imagine that someone starts pouring static into the line, not cutting it, not ripping it out, just filling it with so much noise that the messages cannot get through anymore. The person in one city is still talking, but the person in the other city hears nothing but crackling and silence. That is exactly what interleukin 1 beta does to your vagus nerve. It floods the line with inflammatory static until the signal from your gut can no longer reach your hippocampus. And when your hippocampus stops receiving those signals, it stops forming new memories properly. And here is the part that makes this even more alarming. This process does not announce itself. There is no pain. There is no symptom in your gut that tells you something is wrong. You do not feel the bacteria multiplying. You do not feel the inflammation building. You do not feel the vagus nerve losing signal strength. The only thing you feel is the end result. You walk into a room and forget why you are there. You cannot recall a word that was on the tip of your tongue. You tell your spouse the same story you told them yesterday, and you have no memory of the first time. By the time you notice those symptoms, the bacterial overgrowth and the inflammation have been building for years, silently, invisibly, in a part of your body that nobody, not your neurologist, not your primary care doctor, not even your gastroenterologist, thought to connect to your memory. If someone you love has started forgetting things, if a parent, a spouse, a friend over 60 has mentioned that their memory is not what it used to be, send them this video right now. Because what I am about to tell you next is the part that changes everything. The Stanford researchers did not just discover the problem. They discovered that it is reversible. When they stimulated the vagus nerve in older animals whose memory had already declined, something remarkable happened. Their cognitive performance became indistinguishable from young animals. Let me say that again. Old animals with severe memory impairment performed identically to young, healthy animals after their vagus nerve was reactivated. The memories came back. The hippocampus started working again. The telephone line was cleared of static, and the messages started getting through. This is not a drug that masks symptoms. This is not a supplement that might help. This is the direct reversal of the mechanism that causes age-related memory loss, published in Nature, confirmed by Stanford, reproducible in every test they ran. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because for decades, the medical establishment has treated memory loss in seniors as an inevitable, irreversible decline. Something you just accept, something you manage with puzzles and brain games and eventually medication. What Stanford just proved is that in many cases, the decline is not inevitable at all. It is being actively caused by bacteria in your gut that can be addressed with specific dietary changes. The brain is not failing on its own. It is being starved of the signals it needs to function. And when you restore those signals, function returns. Now let me explain to you exactly what is happening inside your gut and why it accelerates after 60. Think of your gut as a garden. When you are young, that garden is lush and diverse. Hundreds of different species of bacteria living in balance. The good bacteria keep the soil healthy. They produce vitamins. They regulate your immune system. They maintain the wall of your intestine so that nothing leaks through that should not. But as you age, something happens. The diversity of that garden starts to decline. The beneficial species start dying off. And opportunistic species like Parabacteroides, goldsteinii move in like weeds. They spread aggressively. They crowd out the plants that were keeping the garden healthy. And as they grow, they release those medium-chain fatty acids that poison the soil, trigger inflammation, and eventually send that inflammatory signal up through your vagus nerve to your brain. By the time you are 65, The composition of your gut bacteria has shifted dramatically compared to when you were 30. The weeds have taken over a significant portion of the garden, and every day that passes without intervention, more beneficial bacteria die and more harmful bacteria multiply. The inflammation increases. The vagus nerve signal weakens further, and the hippocampus receives less and less of the information it needs to do its job. This is not a cliff you fall off. It is a slow slide. So gradual that most people do not notice it happening until someone close to them says, "You already told me that story," or until they find themselves standing in a room with no memory of why they walked in. The slide has been happening for years, but the good news is that you can reverse the direction of that slide. You can pull the weeds and replant the garden. And the Stanford research proves that when you do, the brain responds. I cannot be in every examination room. I cannot sit with every person who is watching their parent fade. That is why I created the reversal protocol. It covers every step I am about to give you today, plus dozens of additional protocols, measurements, and timing details for every system in your body. The link is in the pinned comment below this video. Now, here is what you can do about it. And this is the part that excites me most because it does not require a prescription. It does not require surgery. It does not require expensive treatments. It requires food. Specific foods that have been clinically proven to shift the balance of your gut bacteria back toward the species that protect your brain. The first and most powerful intervention is fermented foods. Kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, plain unsweetened yogurt with live active cultures. These foods contain billions of living beneficial bacteria, specifically lactobacillus and bifidobacterium strains, that directly compete with the harmful species like Parabacteroides goldsteinii for space and resources in your gut. A clinical study by Chung and colleagues found that Lactobacillus helveticus supplementation for 12 weeks significantly improved cognitive function in healthy older adults in a randomized, double-blinded, controlled trial. 12 weeks. 3 months of eating the right fermented foods and measurable cognitive improvement was documented. Another study by Jung and colleagues found that a lactobacillus strain isolated from kimchi increased BDNF expression in the hippocampus. BDNF stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It is the molecule your hippocampus needs to form and retain new memories. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your memory centers. The more BDNF your hippocampus has, the stronger your ability to remember. Kimchi bacteria directly increased the production of that fertilizer. And a study by Akgarjand and colleagues found that Bifidobacterium longum supplementation for 12 weeks reduced inflammation and oxidative stress in patients with mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease and significantly improved their amino acid profiles. This is critical because oxidative stress is one of the primary drivers of neuronal death in the aging brain. If you find this kind of science-backed information valuable, make sure you subscribe to this channel. I release new research every week, and the algorithm does not show it to you unless you are subscribed. I do not want you to miss what is coming next. The second intervention is prebiotic fiber. Prebiotics are the food that your beneficial gut bacteria eat. Without them, even if you take probiotics, the good bacteria will starve and die within days. The most powerful prebiotic foods for gut-brain health are garlic, onions, leeks, asparagus, bananas, and oats. These contain specific fibers called fructooligosaccharides and inulin that selectively feed lactobacillus and bifidobacterium while making the environment hostile to Parabacteroides and other harmful species. You are literally starving the weeds and feeding the flowers. The third intervention is omega-3 fatty acids. Research has consistently shown that omega-3 fatty acids enhance vagal tone. That means they strengthen the signal capacity of your vagus nerve. They clear the static from the telephone line. The best dietary sources are fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. 2 to 3 servings per week. If you do not eat fish, a high-quality fish oil supplement, providing at least 1,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA daily, is the alternative. The fourth intervention is something that costs nothing, requires no equipment, and surprised many of my patients when I first recommended it. It is the one they were most skeptical about, and it is the one they tell me made the biggest immediate difference in how they feel. Deep breathing. 5 minutes per day of slow, deliberate deep breathing directly stimulates your vagus nerve. This is not my opinion. This is established physiology. The vagus nerve has a direct connection to your respiratory system. When you breathe slowly and deeply, particularly with a longer exhale than inhale, you mechanically activate vagal fibers that send calming, anti-inflammatory signals throughout your body, including up to your brain. Breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose. Hold for 4 seconds. Breathe out for 6 seconds through your mouth. The extended exhale is critical because the vagus nerve is most active during exhalation. This is not meditation. This is not spiritual practice. This is direct mechanical stimulation of the nerve that connects your gut to your brain. 5 minutes. Every morning. Before your coffee. Now let me tell you what to expect when you start this protocol, because people always want to know how fast this works. In my clinical experience, most patients notice the first change within the first 2 to 3 weeks. It is usually clarity. They describe it as the fog lifting slightly, the feeling of reaching for a word and actually finding it. By week 4 to 6, many patients notice that they are remembering small things again. Where they put their glasses, what they went to the kitchen for, names that had been slipping. By week 8 to 12, if you are consistent, the changes become significant enough that other people notice. Your spouse notices, your children notice. They start saying things like, "You seem sharper, you seem more like yourself." The gut microbiome does not rebuild overnight, but it rebuilds faster than most people expect when you give it the right fuel and stop feeding the bacteria that are causing the damage. Here is the exact protocol I gave Dorothy, and this is what I recommend to every patient over 60. Every morning, start with 5 minutes of deep breathing. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 6 seconds out. Then eat breakfast that includes at least one fermented food, a cup of kefir, a few tablespoons of sauerkraut with your eggs, plain yogurt with berries. At lunch, include at least one prebiotic food, a salad with raw garlic and onions, asparagus as a side, a banana as a snack. 2 to 3 times per week, eat fatty fish for dinner, salmon, sardines, mackerel. Every single day, consume at least 1 serving of fermented food and 1 serving of prebiotic fiber. No exceptions. That is the complete protocol. Fermented foods, prebiotic fiber, omega-3 fatty acids, deep breathing. 4 pillars. Each one targets a different part of the chain that Stanford identified. Fermented foods replace the harmful bacteria with beneficial ones. Prebiotics feed those beneficial bacteria so they survive and multiply. Omega-3s strengthen the vagus nerve so the signal can get through. And deep breathing activates the vagus nerve directly so the hippocampus receives the information it needs to form memories. 4 pillars, 4 links in the chain. Remove any one and the system weakens. Use all 4 together and you are attacking the problem from every angle simultaneously. Now let me tell you the 3 mistakes that destroy the gut-brain connection and accelerate memory loss. Mistake number 1. Artificial sweeteners. Aspartame, sucralose, and saccharin have been shown in multiple studies to devastate beneficial gut bacteria. They kill lactobacillus and bifidobacterium selectively while leaving harmful species untouched. If you drink diet soda, use sugar-free sweeteners in your coffee, or eat sugar-free candy, you are actively killing the bacteria that protect your brain. Switch to raw honey or stevia, or eliminate sweeteners entirely. Mistake number 2. Unnecessary antibiotics. Every course of antibiotics wipes out massive colonies of beneficial gut bacteria. Some studies estimate that a single course of broad-spectrum antibiotics can reduce gut bacterial diversity by 30 to 50%, and it can take 6 months to 2 years to fully recover, if it recovers at all. I am not saying never take antibiotics. They save lives. But if your doctor prescribes them for a mild sinus infection or a viral illness, they will not even help. Ask questions. Ask if it is truly necessary. Your gut bacteria and your memory may depend on that conversation. Mistake number 3. Ultra-processed food and refined sugar. These foods feed the exact species of bacteria you are trying to eliminate. Parabacteroides thrives on refined carbohydrates and sugar. Every processed meal, every sugary snack, every fast food dinner is fertilizer for the weeds in your garden. You cannot take a probiotic in the morning and eat processed food for lunch and expect results. The probiotic bacteria will be overwhelmed and destroyed within hours. Now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, have you or someone you love noticed memory changes after 60? Has a doctor mentioned early cognitive decline? Tell me your story, because I read every single comment, and next week I am going to address the most common questions about brain health that I receive from this community. Let me tell you what happened with Dorothy. Because her story is why I am here talking to you right now, I put Dorothy on this exact protocol. Fermented foods every day, prebiotic fiber with every meal, salmon twice a week, 5 minutes of deep breathing every morning, no artificial sweeteners, minimal processed food. She followed it precisely, not because she believed in it at first, but because she was terrified of the alternative. After 4 weeks, Dorothy called my office. She said, "Something strange is happening. I remembered my neighbor's dog's name this morning. I have not remembered that in over a year." After 8 weeks, her daughter called me separately. She said, "My mother is telling stories again. She is remembering details from 30 years ago that she had lost." After 12 weeks, I ran a full cognitive assessment. Dorothy's scores had improved by 22% across every category: verbal memory, spatial memory, working memory, executive function, 22% improvement in 12 weeks. Dorothy sat across from me at her follow-up appointment, and her eyes were wet. She said, "I thought I was disappearing. I thought I was losing myself. And it was my stomach the entire time. It was her gut bacteria. It was inflammation. It was a signal that had been blocked by weeds that nobody thought to look for." Dorothy did not need a new brain. She needed a new garden. And when she planted the right seeds and pulled the right weeds, her brain came back to life on its own. Because it had been waiting for the signal the entire time, the telephone line was still there. It just needed someone to clear the static. I want to tell you one more thing about Dorothy that still gives me chills. 3 months after starting the protocol, Dorothy ran into a former student at the supermarket, a woman in her 40s now. Dorothy had not seen her in 17 years. She looked at her and said her name without hesitation. The woman burst into tears. She said, "Mrs. Thompson, you still remember me?" And Dorothy said, "Of course I do. I never forgot you. I just could not find you for a while." If you know someone who is spending thousands of dollars on memory supplements, brain training apps, or neurologist consultations, and they have never once been told to check their gut, send them this video right now. Because what I just showed you costs less than $10 a week in groceries, and has more published scientific evidence behind it than any supplement in that category. Everything I covered today, the Stanford study, the bacterial mechanism, the vagus nerve pathway, the exact protocol, every food, every measurement, every timing detail, it is all inside the reversal protocol. My complete step-by-step plan to rebuild every cell in your body from the inside out. The link is in the pinned comment. And next week, I am going to show you the one thing most seniors do every single night that accelerates brain aging by up to 10 years. It is not what you think, and the fix takes less than 3 minutes before bed. 1 year from now, you will either be the same person you are today, or you will be someone who took control. Someone who refused to accept that forgetting is just part of getting old. Someone who looked at the science and said, I am going to fight this. Dorothy made that choice, and 3 months later, she was telling stories again. The choice is yours, and it starts today. I am Dr. Margaret Hale, and I will see you in the next video.